slide. You guys let me know if you can see the screen correctly, right? How to manage your time. Do you see the chat box on the side or not? You don't,
Yes,
right?
it's okay.
It's showing. I'm gonna try to put it here so it doesn't bother anybody. Well, I'll close it for the time being. Okay, so welcome everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I'm Sabrine from Algeria. I'm going to present to you a little workshop on how to manage your time, and hopefully this will be a great way for you to maybe either review your system or create one if you don't have one at all. So also I'd like to thank the EU Neighbor South, our coordinator who's here with us, Nassim, and everyone who is joining. So um, most people probably have a system, and we're all familiar with time. And time is maybe a resource that we all have an equal amount of. It's 24 hours, يعني ما لا تزيد ولا تنقص. But these 24 hours, how are we going to use them? My approach may be a little bit basic, but it's not about productivity. It's mostly about developing a system for yourself. So it will depend whether you are a student or a worker, or even if you are just a stay-at-home person, whether you're young or old, this should be good for you. So creating systems is not about going for like just having a to-do list or a task list. It's mostly about creating something solid, like a foundation. And then it can be flexible, so you can change everything you want. So productivity alone is not always an answer. That is just a tool. The system is actually the answer. You will see that I will try to explain a few concepts, and then we will have, after every concept, a little section that is called Ask Yourself. So that section will help you sort of discover how to put your system in use, okay? So the objective, I'm just keeping my notes to the side. The goals or objective is to create or question and review your system. It shouldn't take more than about 40 minutes if you use these questions to actually either create a system that you need or review your system and make necessary changes. So the first three components of our system are routine, priorities, and tools. Routine, I used to call it dailies, but I think routine is a lot better because some routines are weekly, some routines are daily, some are monthly, but everything that is recurrent is a routine. So in Arabic, we would call it يوميات or something that repeats, يعني شيء يتعاود. Priorities is الأولويات, and tools is أدوات. So anything that you will use in order to create your system. Are you guys with me so far? I'd love to know if everything is running smooth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the first, why is it not? Okay, great. So the first thing is the routine. We have what we call recurrent tasks or behaviors, something that you do all the time, either every day, week, or month. So let's take an example. If you are a student, you have a schedule, a weekly schedule, and that repeats itself throughout a semester. But then again, you go to commute, for example, if you take the bus or the car or anything like that, that's a recurrent task that happens every day. If you revise, if you have a revision schedule, that also goes into your routine. And if you have, for example, exams, that's either once a week or once a month or once every semester. Same goes for workers. So for example, as a worker, I have to put invoice for a client every month on the 5th of each month. So I know that on the 5th, I have to go show up and put an invoice. And that's a recurrent task. So I have it on my schedule all the time. So usually we use schedules when we want to create routines, stuff that repeat themselves, and we don't want to cram our head with it. We don't want to keep our system in mind. So you have to ask yourself, and that's like the first step we're going to do. What do you do every single day? What do you do every single week and every single month? Does it require mentioning? And if you need to mention it, where should you mention it? So, for example, if you have a schedule as a student, where do you put that schedule? Is it on your phone? Is it on a piece of paper? Is it on your wall? What are you going to mention on that system? For example, a lot of people like to keep track of their daily water intake because they forget to drink and hydrate themselves. And that's a solid point. If they want to have a good health, keeping track of what you drink should actually be on your schedule. But if it takes a lot of time from you, should you even mention it? And how can that routine be simplified or merged? So, for example, if you already have a tracker for, let's say, a 10K step, and you already have a smartwatch that will track your walk or your pace, you don't really need to go and mention it every day, either on your calendar or anything. You already have a tracking system. You don't need to go and do it again. If you have, for example, a 100, like a liter per day, you only need to know that you finished your bottle, and that would be you tracking your system. So you don't need to put it on the schedule. So I would love to know in the chat, what is, for example, something that you do every day and you need to mention in your program, or maybe you forget about it. And let's see how we could eventually simplify it. Or maybe something a week or a month. I will leave the options up to you and what you want to mention. I don't want you to mention something you don't want to, but I would love to hear from you guys in the chat. So for example, what is something you do every day, week, or month? Does it require for you to put it in your schedule? Do you want to put it in your schedule? And how it can be merged or simplified eventually? We can see how we can do that. So I'll be waiting for the answers in the chat. Meanwhile, I can give you an example of what I do. As I said, I have an invoice every month, so I put it on my calendar. But for example, my workouts, I don't put it in the calendar. I put it on a piece of paper that I see in my room. So we have two answers, a hint that says workout and self-care, and catch up with friends I don't meet often. Okay, both are great examples. So for example, in self-care, how do you implement a skin routine if you've never done that before? What you're going to try to do in your system is to actually put it, let's say, start with every 2 days, so once every day, and then you start incrementing. So your system starts with something easy, and then you start incremental little by little. If you are more into using your phone, then you might want to set up a reminder for the very first days, up until 21 days, so the routine gets installed. If it's with friends, it would be nice to, for example, schedule a picnic, let's say. And that should be recurrent every 3 months or so, or every 4 months. You can make it easier. You can just catch up with your friends on Zoom or a WhatsApp call, but schedule it in your calendar, just like you schedule, for example, a meeting with a client, or just like, how can I say, like when you go and take your exams, they are scheduled at a specific time. You do the same thing. I see every day I have to send emails, follow-up tasks, and reading for 5 minutes every single day. Okay, that's good. Well, for example, for the emails, that can be put as a reminder. For the follow-up tasks, you can actually put your task list. And eventually for the reading, you set up a reminder at a specific time. So if it's at night, it's always at night. If it's morning, it's always morning. And that will help you. We'll get back to the tasks in specifics because that actually needs priorities. And how can we set a schedule that is clear? We're going to exactly get to that in the next slide. So thank you for your answers. I'm going to try to, there you go. So for
Sabrine, can I ask a question, please? I'm sorry
Sure.
for interrupting.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So Henda said that she want to schedule catching with friends that she doesn't see often,
Mhm.
but does catching with friends can be classified as a routine?
If you want to, if you want to do it every 3 months, every 4 months, if it's so important to you that you have to do it again and again, yes, you can classify it as a routine. So for example, every 3 months we have like a hammam day with the friends. I used to have that when I was a student with my friends because we used to be on different universities. So for an entire year, we set up Mondays for a weekly meeting. This allows us one to not needing to catch up through the week. It helps you also just keep your friends at a specific time so you don't have distractions when you're studying or when you go from a place to another. Like you're not gonna bother asking them every single time, are you free? Are you free? You know that you are going to free yourself for Monday and they will free themselves for Monday. And you just meet on that one day for 1-2 hours and you catch up, and that's it. We used to do that for Monday afternoons. So I know that Monday afternoon, 2 to 4, I'm meeting with my friends, and whoever comes from the group, we used to be like up to 10 people. Sometimes 5 show up, sometimes 2 show up. Whoever didn't show up, we ask about them on that Monday. We don't ask about them on another day. And that went about for a solid year until holidays. And that was a routine at some point. Eventually, that routine goes out and another routine establishes. And this is why this system should be like flexible. So once you're done catching up with your friends in that way and you want a new system, you just create something new. So for example, we saw that like some of our friends moved abroad. Catching up on Monday at a specific place is not possible anymore. So we catch up every 3 months on a call and it's up in everyone's calendar. And that's basically a routine. So that is achievable depending on how committed you and your
Thank
friends
you
are.
so much.
You're welcome. So we get to the tasks. When we talk about schedules and how to create them, we have a simple matrix that is made by Mr. Eisenhower, and it's called the priority matrix. I don't like to see it as a square, so this is why I use it like this. But if you look at on the internet, the Eisenhower matrix, it will show up in a square. So you have what's urgent and important, and you have to do it as soon as possible, as urgent as possible. And usually here we either have tasks with imminent deadline, yeah, like essays, or maybe urgent client meeting, somebody is mad or there is a problem. So this is where the do has to happen. When it's important but not urgent, so you don't have an imminent deadline, it can wait, you schedule it. Eventually, if it's urgent, there's a little trick here. The matrix tells you to delegate it, so you give it to somebody. But if you are a student and you have to do things on your own, or if you are a worker and you have to do things on your own, you don't delegate. This goes up to the urgent list as well, and you try to see what's urgent and important, and then only what's urgent. And eventually, if it's not urgent and not important, you delete it. So usually here, are all the distractions, everything you don't need. I don't know, maybe some gossip that is unnecessary, or even something that has passed the deadline and you're just feeling like overwhelmed about it or something, you just skip it eventually, because if the deadline is passed, you can just let it go. So whenever you're doing your schedule, or you are working on your task list, for example, as we talked, or your emails, you see what is urgent and important, and then you start scheduling. So as I think Hind mentioned, I just let me check who mentioned the task list and email. Um, yeah, well, so when you talk about your emails and how you can like how you can put them in your routine, try to think about this. So for example, if you receive emails and it has an imminent deadline, then you have to do them first thing. And then the rest you schedule it. If it can wait a day or two, you can schedule it for tomorrow, because at the end of the day, you're limited. So that would depend on what you need to accomplish that is most urgent and important. Same would go, for example, if you want to catch up with friends and you can't meet the friends group. So if one friends group, for example, has a person that was sick and tired and at home and you have to see them, it's that friend group that takes priority on the second friends group, and so on and so forth. If a client has a deadline and you need, for example, to deliver a product, that's the one that goes first. If the other client is just a prospect, you can't work on this. You have to work on the first one, and so on and so forth. So when you're working on priorities, you ask yourself, what are 4 tasks or goals that require prioritizing? Do I need to section these tasks and goals? And what are the deadlines? So when you're making a schedule, try to keep it at 4 tasks. That's a little bit of a restriction, I know, but that's a way for a person to not get overwhelmed. Usually these 4 tasks fall in this. One is urgent and important, one is only important, one is urgent, and one is not urgent or important, you skip it. There's always a 5th one that falls in one of the previous ones. So try to think about it. What are your goals that require prioritizing? And then from these goals, try to see what are the tasks that goes into each goal, and then the deadlines that you need to work with. So let's say, for example, you have a workout plan. We're going to take that as an example. You have 1 year to get fit and lift 50 kilos. I don't know, you want to work on deadlifts or like 100 kilos. That's the goal. Is it important for you? Yes. Is it urgent? Do you have a competition and it has to be in the next 3 months? No. So you're going to work on it for a year. Okay. What are the tasks? You have to schedule workouts every 3 days a week, let's say. So you put that on your schedule, 3 days a week. And then little by little, you start incrementing weights and eventually you get to your goal. I can see the chat is, yes, there will be a recording. So I want to ask you guys, if you do have a goal or a task that require prioritizing, why do you think it requires prioritizing? And how do you think you can section that task? So for example, if we take the email task, how do you think you can section it? Or is it just like respond to emails? Or can you section it to something better? Like, for example, this client, that client. Put in details is pretty good. Not a lot of details, but a little bit of details would be nice. And do you have deadlines for these? If you don't have deadlines, is it because you're not aware of them, or just task is not that important and urgent for you to put a deadline? So I would love to know, for example, what's a goal that requires prioritizing for you so far. I'm looking at the chat. Meanwhile, so for example, for me, a goal that requires prioritizing at the moment would be to buy a new gear for my content creation. And that would be by saving money first. So I have to work. And what I do is I put a 6-month plan on where I'm gonna get that goal and how I'm gonna work on it. And every task, every month, what I'm supposed to save, how much, and if I do it or not, if there's a delay, etc. Hint says studying. For example, we can get that as a goal. So on more specific, what are you studying? I need to get to this mark. So for example, I just need to pass. I don't want to graduate valedictorian or something. So I just want to pass. I will need this and that grade. I need to study maybe 4 hours a week or maybe 20 hours a week. So that depends. Get a B+ in all of my 17 hours course. Wow. Okay, so you do want to receive honors. So that's a big difference from just wanting to pass. So that would require you to actually put a study schedule where you want to like put the most priority, urgent and important are your modules with biggest points, biggest credit, because that will boost you. And then after it, maybe practical modules and after it, modules that don't have a lot of credit. So try to organize them like that. How many hours of revision, self-study do you do? How many hours of university study do you do, like in class, etc.? All of these, you can put them according to this matrix. So urgent and important are the most important modules you have. And then important.
Do you know what I think, Sabrine? Sorry for interrupting again.
Sure.
That it's the most difficult thing to specify if these are urgent, important, or urgent. Like, because of me, I think everything is urgent, important. That's
okay.
Something again.
Definitely it's not. So for example, you can either prioritize with certain things. First of all, it's the credit score that each module has. This can create a priority. The second thing is, when are the exams, okay? When are your exams also creates a pattern of urgency and importance. If I am in a STEM field and I have a module on English and a module on math, and both are in the same day, the most urgent and important is the math one, not the English one. And so it goes. I see Hind raised her hand, so please go ahead.
For example, like one thing I face when it comes to like studying or studying these, that I never am able to keep up with the changing lines that are constantly changing. So for example, we have an assignment, let's say, that's due at the end of the semester. You find yourself that this assignment, it's either postponed to like a week later after the semester is done, or or like it's a week earlier now. So with all these conflicting dates and like especially the extra credit assignments that we sometimes receive, I get so overwhelmed. So how can I like do that? Like organize it in a clear way.
Great. So if they do give you deadlines, for example, when I used to study, we didn't have deadlines on assignment, just barely, like they tell you which month. But if you do have specific deadlines, try to go, well, if you want to graduate with honors, try to be ahead of your time and not give it on the day of the deadline, but try to get it done beforehand. If you know that like the deadline is Tuesday, try to get it done by Sunday. If your deadline is Sunday, try to get it done by Thursday, and so on and so forth. This will give you a little bit of an upper hand in case you have to put it in earlier, in case you have to change something that wasn't expected. And this will also give you extra time if you ever get something extra score assigned or something. You will be able to sort of work on that because you're already done with your assignments. It's also good to create a sense of urgency. So for example, if you are working on an assignment, let's say, and they give you an assignment today, try to organize it and look at it and understand the topic as soon as possible. Like, don't let it close to the deadline. They give it to you today, you review it today. This is usually when you manage your time as a student, it's not quite easy to do everything on the same day, but you try to do it in like the 48 hours you're given. First off, usually assignments are due to something we're looking at the moment in class. The second thing is you're probably going to use the courses that are like this day or maybe next week or the one later, but like it's during that time. So it's better to work on a fresh mind, and going with that, it will help you sort of tick things off your list pretty quickly. Now, also, I understand some things need time, so that would require like extra planning, maybe like put a plan list. Usually what we used to do is whenever we get assigned, for example, a group project that would need coordination with people, what you want to do is try to get ahead and plan everything as if you're doing it alone. And then eventually when you go to your friends, you're like, the plan is already here. We take this, we work on it. What do you want to modify? it's gonna be able to have, like, you already have a backbone, you already have something to work on. That would make the job easier. So that's also a possibility. Or if it's not important and it's really like a project just for extra credit and you don't want to do it, there are other important things to do. It's good to remember that this exists and you can just skip. You should be able to say no to certain things. And we're going to see it later in tips. You don't have to do every single thing. And maybe that's counterintuitive to say, but yeah, some tasks should be taken out of the schedule or off your chart if it's not benefiting you and it's just putting extra pressure on you. So you should also be able to know, do I really need it? Is it a priority or do I need to just skip it? We're going to see some tools now that could eventually help you to organize a little bit of everything. So depending on who you are as a person, you either go analog or digital, or you can do both. For example, when we talk about analog, we talk about notebooks, list pads, journals, things like that. As you can see, this one is a notebook I use for work, and it's filled with notes. It's filled with like everything I need to do on the go. Usually it's very impolite to be with a client and use your phone, use a laptop or something like that. They don't like it, so you just use a notebook. But it's also important to organize your notebooks. If you want something smaller, that would also work. When I was a student, since you guys are studying, I used to have those little notebooks. And what I do is whenever I get something assigned, I write the date. So it's very easy. You just write the date and the module and what's the assignment and the deadline. And you just sort of keep track in the very first pages of whatever you need. And it's literally a notebook just filled with dates, but that also helps. If you're in digital and you love using your computer, laptop, phone, etc., then you have apps, websites that can help you. So for example, Notion, your calendars, trackers, everything you can do in analog, you can do it in apps as well. You just have to find the right app. Or calendar you recommend. I definitely recommend using, so, oh, okay, it's the same question. I have two things I can recommend you on digital. One is the Google Suite. It helps if you have a lot of PDFs to go through, if you have a lot of projects to work on, you just put everything in one drive. Make sure that that drive, like that account, is specifically made either for your work or for your studies. You don't put anything on the side with it. You have it just solely to track your work and your studies. So that calendar is alone. They have a to-do list. You have a special app that is called Keep for notes. You have a special app for emails. So everything is done in one place, and that helps you access things better in a better way. You can also link up things. The second thing that I personally use is Notion. I'll get to that before I see Hind with her hand, so please go ahead.
What's the name again? Google what?
The Google Suite, the everything Google. So for example, Google Drive, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Keep for notes. It's a very good thing. You have Google Reminders, you have Google Calendar, everything Google. It's all in one place. Usually we have these already set up on our phones, but you should know there's a desktop version of it everywhere you go. Yes, sure. We're gonna Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Keep, what else? Calendar, oops. Google Calendar. What else do I use? There's so for example, if you want to keep the drive, Gmail, of course, if you want to keep track of your photos, if you have a cloud or something like that. So a lot of students take pictures of whatever they're like, stuff like that. So photos. I don't know if there is an equivalent of that in iPhone, iPad. I'm an Android kind of person. I'm so sorry about that. On the other hand, the app I use is Notion. What I use is Notion. And I know Notion is available everywhere. Phone, desktop, iPhone, Android, if there's something, Linux, anything. It's accessible through web. You can have calendars, you can have to-do lists, you can have dashboards, you can have bullet journals, you can have workout plans. You can have your entire life on one single screen. And I'll show you mine at the end. But first I'm going to show you like examples from the internet, and you're going to see how you can literally put everything in one place. And that will help you a lot in either as a student or as a worker. So Hind, again, sure, go ahead.
Sorry, for interrupting. Is the
No, it's-
Notion, is it like the black box with an N?
Yes, black box with an N.
Because
Jackpot.
I got two apps, which is me plus my daily routine, the Notion. I'm an Android too, so that's why I asked.
Okay, great. Yeah. Notion is this one. Hold on. I don't know if you can see my screen. I have no idea how it's looking, how it's showing. Can you see it? That's the app.
No,
Oh.
I can't see it, but it's like a black box, right? Just
It's
to make sure.
it's a black box with an N. It's called Notion Notes, Docs, and Tasks.
Yeah.
What's good about Notion is that you can embed pictures, you can embed documents, you can put your PDFs inside, you can put everything. It has a paid plan, it has a free plan. You can work on the free plan. I do the free plan and it works marvelously. So, all of these can help us create a system. And this system should be one written, not memorized. It doesn't matter where you write it. So either notebooks or apps and web and digital or analog. But the first thing you should know about time management is that if you keep anything in your mind, it acts as a clutter. And to declutter, you take notes. You put your system written. It should be accessible. So if you have a notebook, you keep it with you everywhere you go. If you like it small and compact, then yes, keep it in your pocket. If you like it big and you have a bag, keep it in your bag. But your system should be with you everywhere you go, anytime, and it should be accessible. You shouldn't be hindered to access your system, or it should be a hassle. Or, oh, hold on, I can't access my notebook. I'm in transport. It's a lot of, it's pretty packed, pretty crammed. So this is why usually on the phone, it's better. And this is why I tell you guys to use Notion, because Notion can be accessed on desktop and phone at the same time, and everything is synced. And also it should be modifiable. So there's a little bit of a system when you use notebooks. It's not, do you think it's not as modifiable as a digital system, because you can't really erase. But there are systems that you can use where you can do future logs, where you can like just change things, and you shouldn't be afraid of experimenting with pen and paper, and just mess it up a little bit, and that's okay. It's part of the process. But whatever system you use, make sure it's written. You don't have to memorize anything of it. Make sure it's accessible and make sure it's modifiable. So for the students, those of you who are students, when we talk about accessibility, it should be next to you as you study. If the teacher gives you an assignment, you write it down at that moment, and that would help you, run things smoother. As a worker, same goes. Whether you're with a client or something shows up, you put it in your system, so you keep track of it. Back to ask yourself, do you have a system? How is it? Is it accessible? Is it efficient? And what's left to optimize it? So if you don't have a system at all, you should be able, with the task lists and tools, you should be able to build one. What is it for? What's the goal behind it? What are the 4 tasks and 4 goals you want to achieve with it? You have to work on that little by little. So I would love to know if any of you has a solid system or not. And if you don't have a system, do you want it to be digital, analog? How do you want your system to be ideally? I would love to know. So we can see like maybe how eventually how accessible, not accessible, efficient, not efficient it would be for you guys. Sure, Selena, go ahead.
Hi. I have one, and I built it like I don't know, a month ago, because I was lost. I was lost with everything that I have. I work and I study, and I like train, and I really need to do everything like people in my age do, with working and studying. So I built one like on the iPad. I told you guys on the good notes thing. So I did the calendar, and each day I write what the next day I should in order and in time. But I don't like do exactly what I write, but I try.
Okay, well, it's okay if it's a little bit flexible and you don't get to everything. I would love to know, for example, in your calendar, do you put your studies and work in one same place? Like, do you mash it up together, or do you have a separate system for work and for studies?
I don't separate it because it's all in one calendar, but like I write everything like train and what it should be included, like that, in that order.
Okay, interesting. Well, if you wanna try, not imposing anything, it's just a suggestion. I used to do the same thing, for example, when I used to study and work, and it wasn't extremely efficient for me until I separated everything. So I worked with two systems. One system that was for studies, and one system that helped me track my work and where I was. Especially that like my first work was on freelance, so I had my own schedule. I don't know about how your work is. Maybe that was a little more flexible for me. So maybe if you can try to separate them and see would it help you achieve your goals in a more efficient way. Also, when it comes to work, keep the tasks to like a maximum, like a threshold. Don't go over 5 or 6 tasks in order not to get overwhelmed. And then it depends. If your priority is work, then put a threshold on studies. If your priority is study, put a threshold on work. And so it goes. Maybe that would eventually help you better.
Yes,
That's up
got
to
it.
you.
Thank you. But isn't it too much to have like two calendars that you need to follow up with? Like to go to the studying calendar, for example, to see what should I have to do today, and then go to the like main calendar, what else things that I have to do. Isn't it like disturbing, or is it easy like?
Well, I mean, that would depend on how you see things. If for you, you think maybe it's a little bit too much to, just switch between both, keep them in one place. But usually it's easier to separate them because it provides like a more clear view, clarified view. So for example, this is the student calendar. I have to show up for this and that class. And then that's the work, and I have to do it in that said time and that said time. So kind of keeping them separate in order to create a better balance. But that doesn't mean like you have to do it. It's just a suggestion. When I used to separate them, that provide me with a certain clarity on where I need to prioritize, like how I need to prioritize work as work, not with studies in between. So when it's work, this is how it should be done. This is what's urgent and important, just urgent, just important, and what I need to just skip. And then for studies, same thing, because what you want to do is run them sort of in parallel, because you're studying, but you want to get ahead and have work experience. So you want to kind of move two lives at the same time. And that's why I suggest you separate, but that's not like an obligation, maybe that would help you better. You can just try it for a month, and if that works better than the previous system, so be it. And if the previous system works better, keep it. It all depends on, you see, like
Yes.
no matter what advice you can get, it's a very one-to-one type of thing. What might work for you might not work for me, and so on.
Thank you.
I don't know if others have any answers in the chat. Okay, we don't have any answers. Anyone wanna raise their hands to say something if they do have a system or not? I'm not sure. I don't have a clear system to build. Okay, so for example, like Hind, you only have studies, right?
As of me, no, I also tutor, so and
Okay.
sometimes tutoring consumes a lot of my time, like literally most of the afternoon is just lost of tutoring one person, which is why I'm left overwhelmed. And I'm not getting the whole thing of how to set it up the way you're talking about it. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Maybe because I'm just used to go with the flow, like with
Okay.
what each has. Like I just never I only wake up, I do whatever I do in my morning routine, that 1 hour that I have, and the rest is just like rushing. Oh, I have this. I remember that I have that, so I'll go to that. Just like because tutoring is so time consuming, so that's why sometimes I don't bound myself into
Okay.
a time schedule.
If it's time consuming, maybe it's because you have like maybe it's either you have to go for it for long hours or you need to prep a lot for it. So when we talk about a system and how to set it up, we're thinking about, for example, first of all, would you prefer it if it's in digital or not? If it's on paper, what kind of program you want. So for example, if we're talking about your like your lifestyle, you can put studies on a calendar and you have like a task list with every week. So this week I have this to do, next week I have another thing to do, and so on. Usually you can plan studies up to 3 months. So an entire semester can be planned up to 6 months. For tutoring, you can put it in a way that doesn't overwhelm you if it's if you can schedule it ahead. So for example, you know you will tutor this person in 3 days, and you want to prepare maybe for it a day ahead or just 2 days ahead or that morning, so it doesn't like overwhelm you a lot. Half, you do it daily. Okay. So for example, since it's daily, so you want to put it in a routine. That is a recurrent task. You put it in your schedule as a reminder and you go with it day by day. I understand some things are tough and maybe a little bit rough on the edges, so you can't really like if the task itself is difficult, you can't really find a way to make it simple. So that there's that also. But what you can do is just put it in your system in order to not get overwhelmed by it. You don't have to like remember who you are tutoring, what you need to teach them. You just put it in the system and then every day you get a reminder. When I talk about the system, for example, I'm going to show you some examples, and then maybe if we have some time, because I see it's almost 7, so if we have some time, we'll see personal examples. Go ahead, you raised your hand before I go to the next slide.
Yeah, it's like the content of how we ask ourselves the questions, like at least if that's possible.
Hmm?
Can you send us the content, like
Sure,
the
sure.
PowerPoint? So
I'll send everything, don't worry. Okay, so for the examples, sorry. Yes. So for example, when we talk about analog, we have a system that is called bullet journal. And basically how it works is you have indexes. The index will tell you where the pages are and what number. The collections, and that's the big part of it. So for example, you have a calendar page that you set up for every month. You have a task page that is every single day, and you have a future log. This future log are the tasks that are supposed to be scheduled in the daily, but you are going to take them to another day because you haven't done it. And this is why I tell you, like, sometimes analog can be overwhelming when you work on notebook, because you think, oh, I have to scribble that or scratch that. But the bullet journal is kind of a clean and neat way of putting off tasks to another day, or just deleting them without really making a mess out of it. And in order to put everything in a nice system, you just need the key. And the key tells you if it's a task, an event, or a note, if you have completed it or you have migrated it. And if it is a priority, top priority, you will put a little dent next to it. So for example, this is the key that is usually proposed. If it's priority, you have a star. If it's an idea, you have a little like exclamation mark. If the task is done, you scratch it. If it's migrated or scheduled, if it's an appointment, and so on. So you just have literally a white page, like so. And for your day, you just put your lists, your like what you're doing. If it has to be with a time, like here it's time blocked, and here it's just what has been done. These ones are migrated, so up to the next day or the next week even. That would depend on you and how you work on it. This is a simple system that you can set up anywhere. You don't have to buy fancy things. You just need a simple notebook. You have this system that is called a time block. This is also a way, well, it's not a system, it's more of a productivity hack. You have calendars, it tells you every single day. And for example, a calendar on Google, you can put it with hours, and you can put the same system on papers if you do time blocks. So you wake up at 7, etc., and you put everything you need. So that's for notebooks. For Notion, which is a very interesting app, I'm always excited to talk about Notion. Go figure out why. You can set up a whole dashboard on it. When we talk about a dashboard, you can put every single aspect of your life, personal, not personal, daily tasks, weekly tasks, workout trainings, anything. It's extremely versatile, which means you can adapt it to your own lifestyle. And it has ready to work with templates. So you only find a template that suits you, you work with it, you change whatever you need to change, and you set it up. It takes about 1 hour to 2 hours to set up an extremely extravagant dashboard. But if you want to keep it more simple and use whatever template you find, it takes 10 to 20 minutes. I suggest, though, that you take time to personalize it to what you need, to your personal needs and goals, because you will never find a template that is exactly as your life. But what you can do is have 2-3 templates and you merge them all together to create something for yourself. So for example, here we have a weekly agenda on Notion. And as you can see, there are dates. And with every day, you have a to-do list. And whenever you finish the task, you just click on it and the task goes away, and so on and so forth. And you have notes below. This is a very, very simple weekly agenda, and you update it every week. So at the end of the week, you have to review your system. You open it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's all done. You delete them. You delete the dates, and you go for the next week, and so on and so forth. That's an example. This is a full dashboard. So you have a calendar here, you have here what's important, the goals, etc. You have links in case you need them. So a budget manager, for example. You have here daily tasks, personal life, lifestyle, things to do, movies, etc. You can track anything you want. And here is the task list with due date and context, so where you need to do it, etc. You can, these little widgets, you can add them. I personally have a weather widget because I want to know whether it's, whether it's raining or not. And here you go. For example, when we talked about like workouts and routines, etc. For example, in this one, you can see the morning routine is set up on the side and so on. And here they have like a prep type of thing for the week. So it's really up to you and how you want your dashboard to look like, right? And this is a full system. As you can see here, this is the fullest system you can get on Notion. You can find templates that are like this, ready built. You just sort of adapt them to yourself. And you can have a calendar view, you can have a weekly view, a task view. As you can see here below, this is a calendar view. So every day will show like this, and inside every day you can add tasks. And then when you go to the app, you just check what you need on that specific day. This one is another, and it's maybe a little bit more minimalistic. You have today, upcoming events, schedules, and future plans. And then you have the calendar view for the class. This is a very good for students. So if you want, for example, to have every module and where it goes, it's color coded. It will help you maybe get things in a more in shape and in a better place. So for example, when I think about Hind, you can use a dashboard like this, a student dashboard, and then at the same time, a teacher's dashboard, and you can merge them together. Your tutoring is on one side, your studying on the other, and you keep track of everything with classes, with to-dos, etc. Is it possible to set systems for different? Yes, you can set different systems for different things. I like to keep everything in one place, but at some point, like when I was a student, I kept things separate.
I want to do it on Notion, but I think it's more convenient for me to have like a dashboard or like a template for like teaching and then another template for studying. Like I
Yeah.
love to be separated. I don't like to cram things together.
It's much better to keep it separate. You will see that like you can keep everything in a big dashboard, but it's also better to keep just everything. I mean, it's all in one app, but you can still separate it. So you have it in Notion, and then you have something like this. And then you have maybe something that is for like personal stuff, something that is for tutoring, and so on. I would love to show you before we get here, I don't know how I can exit this to sort of, well, manage. We'll finish this and then eventually I'll show you how my Notion works and maybe it could help you guys. So a few tips. You can have a review every week or so in your system, and it shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. Once you set up your system, once you do everything, that system should be able to, you can be able to get back into that system and review it for 10 minutes, either every day or every week, depending on what you set up. You can experiment as much as you like. This is why I told Selena, just try it for a month. Maybe it would be better to keep it separate. Try to limit the daily tasks. When I talk about daily tasks, it's what you put here, for example. Try to limit the tasks at four big tasks. And those 4 big tasks, you can section them to smaller tasks. Keep it as simple as possible. And of course, learn to say no. You don't have to do every single thing. If you have the luxury and the privilege to delegate. Give to other people to do. You don't have to do everything. The don'ts, these are the do's. So the don'ts is to actually clutter it. Keeping track of every minute detail in your life could be good, but it also clutters your system. Over planning or under planning. So when we talk about under planning, is actually having no plan, but also over planning to the slightest details can also be distracting. Getting distracted from your system, that's also a don't. So when you set up a system, try to get back to it, even if it's difficult at first, even if like you get a little bit overwhelmed, you're like, okay, I'm skipping the system. I don't want to look at it. It's only going to make me stress or overwhelm, or, like just, I'm not good at managing my time, so I'll just skip it. Don't do that. Actually go back to your system. It takes 10 minutes to review it. So try to see, okay, this is not working for me. Obviously, there has to be another way. So how can I improve it? Just ask yourself, sit with yourself, take those 10 minutes and try to figure out what's there to experiment with. And of course, saying yes to a lot of things. Every opportunity that's going to come your way might be good, but some opportunities can be skipped. So I want to, before we get to that, I want to pause this and show you the dashboard I'm able to work with. And maybe that would help some of you get a clear view. I don't know. I want to show you how Notion works. So for example, I work and also I create content, and also I have my personal courses that I follow in self-study. So that's a lot of things on one side, but I'll show you how I put everything on a calendar. So how can we share back again? And there you go. Can you see the screen? I just want to confirm. Hello?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
So, for example, I keep my vision. This is extremely personal, but let's go. I keep my vision board here. I keep my calendar and the time, because whenever I want to access it, I want to see what time it is, etc. So this is how it starts. We have a dashboard here. This is for everything that I do on the daily or weekly, okay? So this is my daily planner. It has my system inside. This is a weekly I think well, yeah, I'll show you how this works. Technically, I cleared it up so I can show you guys. Bingo. So I just kept this as an example. As you can see, like you can fill up anything you want, and once you're done, you just click and that's it. At the end of the week, Thursday, I delete everything. And I have a clear vision like for Sunday. Let's go. I have a clear board that I work with for the next week. So Saturday, I log in, I put everything I need. As you can see here, there's this Carrefour Kids Club thing, because this is here for over a year. This will stay here every single Tuesday for a year. So I put it there, I know it's there, and so on and so forth. This is for the week. And every time I go back in, I just come here and I write whatever I need. I put a tab and I start writing, okay? So that's, for example, a weekly system that works for me. At the end of the week, I just skip it. For example, when I go a little bit down, I have anything here. So career, leisure, and personal. I keep everything separate. So I have my reading list, I have personal projects, and I have my career projects. And here is anything that has to do with finances, my budget for the month, my wish list of what I want to buy, etc., etc. I even have here a list of possible side hustles if my career goes off. So it's a little bit of everything, and it's all in one dashboard. We're going to see the courses. Since I do self-studies, I don't need modules or anything. So the system I have is pretty simple. You have status here. Was it done or not? You have the course. What is it? If it's general, I don't think I have a lot of, yeah. I either have creative, self-development, general business, or marketing, because I'm in marketing. So this is how I keep track of what I do. And whenever I take it, the day I finish it, I put here the date I finished it, the date I took that course. And here is the link to the course. And so on and so forth. So, and if I take a new one, I just add it here, new, and I write it down and I take it. Some of them are done, some of them are still ongoing, so and so on and so forth. I keep track of it. I can also have a calendar view, but it doesn't suit me. If you are a student, it will probably help you better because semesters are in calendars, so that's better for you, and so on and so forth. So it all depends how you want to work your system. Same goes. My goals, I keep track of them here, scholarships, anything I need. I used to have a calendar for content creation that I eventually skipped for 2024 because it didn't suit me. So I was like, okay, we're not keeping track of it for 2024. I'm going to try to figure out a new system, and I'm trying to find a new system for content creation that suits me better, and so on and so forth. So it's really up to you and how you want to create your system, you know? So there you go. Let me know if you guys have any questions or any further inquiries or anything like that that I can help you with. So go ahead. The floor is yours. If you want to just raise hands and talk, please do. I would love to. I see Muhammad, I mean, with his, thank you. Okay, so, merci. Your demo is, yes, what I just showed you is Notion. And I actually used the template that I tweaked here and there. So I actually used four different templates. I merged them all together and I created my own system. So for example, the dashboard I used was mostly for students, but it wasn't good for me. So I skipped the student thing. I just kept the courses and I implemented something for work, which is the weekly to do with a gallery view. And I put it like that. I put the daily, I put the vision board and so on. So it's really up to you and how you want, it's really up to you and how you want to see your dashboard. And it should be accessible. If I go on my phone, it's as accessible as it is on my dashboard, you know. For the budget, it's a sheet that I used on my own that I created by myself because it's a system that helps me. But you can find templates for pages and you just implement them in your dashboard. Do you guys have any questions? If you want to raise hands or something? Hind, if you want to figure out your system and if you need like extra help, I would love to help you through it all, like building your Notion, all of that.
Thank you so much. I was actually going to ask you if it's possible. I need to sit with myself this weekend to figure out everything before the semester. Is it possible that I contact you
Sure,
for like any help?
I would
Because
love
I
to.
I can't stay all over the place this semester at all. It's my last semester. I need to just like plan it out perfectly.
Sure, we can do that. I mean, I also like definitely if I want to give you accurate advice, I will have to sit with you and like look at what you have, what you need in your dailies in all of that. So I would love to help if that's possible. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll if I think I can find your WhatsApp number on the group, right?
WhatsApp, Instagram, anything you want.
On the page here, the
The
bonsai
bonsai book, or you can contact me on WhatsApp. It's actually easier. No problem.
more convenient.
My WhatsApp, I'm gonna leave you my number here for the WhatsApp on chat. Just add it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. If you guys have any feedback, I would love to hear about it. We can have it on the chat so we can keep track of it or anything for the team. If you guys want to say something, was it useful? Was it not? Do you guys need more details? I would love to know.
Sabrine, I think it was
Yes.
wonderful personally. I mean, I should be leaving the floor for the members of the group, but I really want, it's Nada, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how it appears on Zoom.
I do
I
recognize
just
your
wanted to
voice.
say that it's very, very useful.
Okay.
Thank you for all the tips. It's not easy, but I think everyone should find like you said, yeah, like its own system and create its own template and feel at ease. I mean, I mix a bit of both analog and digital.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always very, very tough sometimes to organize hectic agendas.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I understand that also when you have multiple responsibilities or more than one responsibility, do different things, it's also very overwhelming. So thank you, really, thank you for this excellent presentation. We've recorded it, right? I think, and
Yes.
we can share it with those who couldn't attend. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, it is recorded for those who can't attend, and I'll make sure to send you the PowerPoint so it's available for everyone. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your presence. I hope this was useful. And I'm gonna just stop like this. So yeah, again, thank you. If you guys have any questions, you can contact me on WhatsApp. You can contact me anywhere you want. Honestly, I'm available. So yeah, I'll leave the floor to, I don't know if I should be closing, or maybe I don't know if Nicole is here, or Nada, if you want to have a closing statement.
No, I mean, if there's no more questions, I think we can close and call it the night. Thank you, Sabrine.
Thank you
See you
guys.
soon. Ciao.
See you
Bye.
soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Sabrine.
Merci. Au revoir.
Thank you, Sabrine. Thank you. Merci. Bye.